Greetings, citizens. Welcome to another episode of 10 for the Artist. My name is Forrest Stephan, CIG Supervisor. To my left is
Omar Aweidah, concept artist.
And we'd like to thank all the subscribers for making this show possible and having us as guests.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so first one is from Gerald Duvall. How much of your inspiration is drawn from existing sci-fi and how much is organic? Could you provide examples of each? So I guess when I'm concepting to try and make something really unique, generally we try to stick away from like sci-fi. For example, like with weapons, I would look more towards different pieces of machinery, maybe drills or power tools or things that aren't necessarily already considered weapons, maybe even like remote control submarines and all sorts of like weird electronics. That way you kind of get a little bit new and original shapes and ideas. But then at the same time, a lot of the direction or the art direction calls towards pre-existing like sci-fi. For example, with like certain ships from Halo or Firefly or Elysium and all these kind of things are like, we're thinking about this kind of feel for this kind of ship, and it's a great way to put you in the right direction. But then once you kind of understand that, you start to go deeper and look at a variety of different objects and different references. But really something that's just completely creative and like organic, something that's like conceptual, it just comes during the design process. It's not something that necessarily I would look for or I would try to do. I would gather reference, I'd do a lot of research, and whatever happens during the creative process, that's what's organic. But generally, I don't try to create anything just straight out of my head.
Yeah, because where you're making a weapon or a ship, they're machines, right? So you don't just like make a weapon. You got to do the research on figuring out how would you actually build this. If I was going to theoretically build this in real life,
right?
So you can investigate on different types of I don't know.
That's totally like engineering. Like you're a designer, and you're also semi like an engineer, but you also make cool art, right? Yeah. So we don't necessarily take everything to the fullest level of fully functionality, but we try to make it as functional as possible with the knowledge that we know. And like the more weapons you do, the more realistic it gets. Ships, the more ships you build, the more you create, the more you kind of know this is my route for getting reference and inspiration and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and then we definitely like to keep, there's different styles to different weapons and different ships, which a lot of the times the parts that we do look at to build this stuff will be from different eras. So maybe one style of one weapon and one ship is more, World War II style and that kind of thing. But then maybe another ship and another weapon is much more kind of slick, modern, and chic. Right. And then we look at more modern parts and things that are being created today. And that kind of helps define the different styles, is the different time periods that we pull our inspirations from.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's also too like the design, like each corporation, there's so many corporations, there's so many manufacturers, they each kind of have their own unique style. For example, Apocalypse Arms, there's like Detroit biker gang. Like that would be like the design brief. How can we take a Detroit biking community and make them science fiction?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah.
For Mr. Duvall.
Mr. Duvall, Gerald Duvall. Okay, next question is from Fallen. Is there any chance of showing...
It's a great movie, by the way.
Fallen?
Yeah. It's the best ending ever.
I never saw it. Way to throw me off track.
I'm sorry, continue.
Just kidding. Continue. Okay. Is there any chance of showing those of us who are artistically curious a video, some staging progress and shots of an artist working on a concept? Some people enjoy watching how others do it and can be a new segment to building interest.
So I love when we do that, or whoever does that. I love watching. Remember when David Hobbins, they recorded him doing a time sketch of one of the ships, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So I would love to see more of that. Even like speed modeling, when you guys are kit bashing, parts together and ships together, and I think that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't necessarily had any experience doing that, but I would definitely, it's really common for a lot of artists to record their process and post it so people can see, but maybe doing it under like the Star Citizen like label, like see how each artist works differently, because each artist is super unique. So everybody has a completely different process to doing it. So, I'm not opposed. I would love to do that.
Yeah. And it's like, the future. So I could something that will take me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That would take you 5 minutes, we could just speed it up a little bit, right? Kind of like
Oh,
when
yeah,
you see
totally.
like a, yeah.
That's what you model. You speed it up 17 times, and you say that's
How long it took.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I hope that answered that
Yeah,
question.
no, I think it's a great idea.
Great. This one is from Solo. When you set out to design anything, how do you get your inspiration for the task?
I love watching movies. If a task says to do something very specific, whether it's an explosion or an effect or a character or an environment, I generally pick kind of my favorite art-directed on-screen demonstration of it, and then I use that as my inspiration. And then I kind of go from there and I try to make it, my own, right?
Yeah, totally. I do the exact same thing. A lot of it is your reference from film. But I think right now, I think for me, it's going into like a Pinterest hole.
I can't stop.
Yeah, where I just
said the worst
keep
Pinterest addiction.
hitting everything,
Oh
and it
my
just
God.
gets like wild and creative. And then you start like going deeper and deeper into like weird abstract shapes. You get like a bolt that's in the undercarriage of a Ferrari, and you're like, that's what I need on this thing. And you cycle through that
And
information.
then you'll spend 4 hours pinning, and then I'll follow you.
Yeah.
And then I get all your stuff, and then I fall down the rabbit hole. And then before you know it's the end of the day, we never did our task.
Yeah,
We should stop Pinteresting.
We just plug Pinterest so hard. They should give us some gear.
They should.
But yeah, I mean that's my favorite way. Like movies. I mean, when you're trying to create like a theme or a feel, then you got to kind of look towards like life experiences and emotion. That gets a little bit deeper. But a lot of the times we do design like cold sci-fi assets, like a hard asset that might not exist in the world. I just need it to function. I need it to be real.
Yeah.
When you're drawing a picture or something like that, or like a painting, then you want to actually get like the mood and the color and the theme, and that comes from a whole different thing. A lot of that's the artist's like skill and taste and life experience. But
Yep.
sometimes you just got to make.
And a good artist can make
generator.
any nut and bolt look good with composition, right? And
For
so
sure.
That's where the art comes in. You have the engineering and the architecture side. To be an architect and to be an engineer to create this stuff, but then it falls into the art, and that's how that's the difference between just something and something that looks amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So
all right.
definitely agree with that. Okay, next we have Luftwolf. How do you personally deal with negative criticism when you're presenting something you'd otherwise be proud of?
Negative criticism? Oh, I just brush it off.
You just brush it off.
Oh, no big deal. No, well, I mean, if there is negative criticism, it's always important to figure out where the negative criticism is coming from, right? So you want to make sure that the direction is correct. You want to make sure that you're going the right route and making sure that what you're delivering is what's being expected, right? Because sometimes you could create something very good, but if it's not exactly what is needed, then you will get negative criticism, right? Because there's very specific things that we need to deliver on.
Right.
So I kind of reevaluate the initial steps, which is defining the right references, making sure I understand the task properly, and then obviously going to the direct source for the criticism and figuring out how to improve to achieve what obviously that person or group of people are actually looking for.
Right. Like the direction, like what are you trying to do?
Yeah, some direction.
Yeah.
Or I just delete the email.
Yeah. Everybody has an opinion, right? And then there's how many people commenting on any one thing? Thousands of people. So even if you have
You're always going to get
99% of people love it, there's still going to be 10 comments that you'll see all 10 of them,
Right.
and then they'll just like crush your soul. But generally, most of the negative criticism comes from within the studio, and it's not necessarily negative criticism. It's more like we have a critiquing process, which is what's working, what's not working, and that's with everything you do. So that's just a part of the job. I mean, that doesn't really like affect me emotionally or make me like not sleep.
No,
at
but
night.
honestly, usually the hardest critiques are ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the person making the art is usually the hardest critiquer, I find, for sure. I mean,
right.
and usually it's the other people that are telling them it's okay. What do I always say? I always say, how many artists does it take to screw in a light bulb? It takes 10. One to screw it in, the other 9 to tell them it looks okay and it's bright enough. Right? That's just,
Yeah, I mean, that's
the way it is. I critique it, even when it's done.
Yeah.
I'm never satisfied with it. I'm always critiquing it.
It's so funny, too, to hear
so
a
hard
bunch
to
of
look at.
artists like, they'd be like, oh man, this looks so bad. I can't believe I did this. Like, I really, screwed up this project. And then to post it and then all the fans be like, "This is amazing! This is the greatest thing!" You're like, "You like that?" Like, what?
And you look at it for so long, though. Sometimes you lose sight
That's
because you
the key
get
right
caught up
there.
in it. And you know all the issues, and then all of a sudden you step back, and someone goes, "That looks great," and you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I just had to spend, like. I was
That
wasn't
one
happy
wobbly
with it at
line in the
all.
back that no one ever
Nobody
noticed, but you were zoomed in that area,
No, you
painting it
guys
for like.
notice. You guys notice.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother beast. Star Citizen fans are crucial. They're just like, they just pin it, rip it apart.
They want it good. They
I
want
know.
it good.
That kind of caliber won't shoot that kind of bullet. And you're just like, oh, I'm just a concept artist. I don't know, man. But I'm like, it looks cool, right? But yeah, I feel it's not too bad. It's not like we're losing sleep at night.
No, I don't lose sleep at night.
No. This is from Damon 2.
Okay. Did we get any questions from Damon 1?
No.
Okay.
Damon 1, that's a tragic accident. I'm wondering if there will be a customizable character helmet or body in the PU. Would it be possible, perhaps in the near future, that we could buy alien-looking or perhaps mecha-looking armor, helmets, etc.? Another perhaps, each part with their own perks and disadvantages.
So let me tell you, boy, is there customization in the PU, because we have spent the last 3 months concentrating on making sure that the characters have a good amount of customization for the PU. And you will absolutely be able to change your helmet, get new helmets, and I don't know what the limitations are on alien races and stuff, but I think it's pretty safe to say that that's going to be a big aspect of the game.
Yeah, and it's a really large task too. I mean, I think the concept itself is like pretty simple. I should be able to swap in my helmet and stuff, but it's remarkably difficult
to make everything work, to swap out the different areas of the character, to make it always not look weird, I think is the hardest thing.
Because you give someone full customization, man, I'm gonna change this shirt to like bright pink, make my pants bright blue, but there's a lot of, most of it is like,
What's wrong with pink?
Nothing's wrong with pink. You can have a pink if
Socks
it's
are
designed
pink.
to be pink. But then we have to come up with a bunch of limitations too, like what
absolutely.
you can and cannot, tech limitations, because there's always a constant give and take. Because, okay, if you want this thing, then you get a less character on screen, and you want more of this and less, then you have to take away from certain areas. So what you try to do is you try to find out what's the best balance of, I want to give you everything you want, but you're going to have to lose a little bit of something in another area, because there's only so much memory out there. And I know optimization is a huge
That's
thing.
the most difficult thing, right? Is the memory. I mean, obviously the more objects you have that get loaded up into the game takes a certain amount of memory. The amount of textures that are required to bring that into the game takes a certain amount of memory. But we've definitely spent a lot of attention to that, and we want to have the biggest PU character experience that you can possibly have with this game. Because like everything else, we try to make everything as good as possible, as good as technically possible with the day and age that we're in. So we do a lot of tricks. We're starting to pool, what we call pooling our materials and textures. So we get everything in a library, and then everything is pulling from these libraries. That way we can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of objects instead of being restricted to dozens or only 100, right?
Right.
So the game can exponentially grow in size over the months and the years, and we should be able to still support it, and it should still run.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm saying that we're developing the tech too.
Right now. Right now we have a programmer upstairs, Hyoka, that's helping us write this stuff. And then also we have a great graphics director, Allie Brown, who also has considerably helped us with getting this system in place. Does all the hard parts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's and also we're learning it too. Like
Yeah.
we're learning
Oh,
this
yeah.
new tech. So as time goes on in the next few years, we're gonna get better at understanding it, better at utilizing it, and better at optimizing it ourselves as artists. Just because, we're learning a new tool,
Right.
Essentially. So what's the best way to use this tool? So I think at first, it's something that'll just grow over time.
Right. Yep. No, absolutely. And it's heading in the right direction, so
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that when it's released, it'll be a decent amount of customization.
Yeah.
And then obviously through, as the game evolves over the course of years, it'll really the universe will end up populating itself.
Yeah, and we put a lot of effort to making sure that our objects are almost dynamic in a way. So as we make better textures, as we make better materials, the objects aren't just kind of baked and static. They also get better over time. So we don't plan on the game, just throwing it away in a year. We want it to evolve and to continue for years to come. So it was very important that the art evolved with the game and the time. That way, when new games come out, we still are competitive.
For sure.
2 years from now with the same asset that we made today. So.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. How we can always change things because of the system that we're developing. Right. It can always grow.
All right, there you go. Do you get an alien hat? I don't know. I'll make you one if they don't make you one.
Yeah, that's the alien.
We'll make you an alien hat. Or an alien head, like a mask.
I'll put it on my tent.
Is there Halloween parties in the universe? Like, what if you want to put on like a Van? How cool would that be? Like, you have like a Van Duel costume, you can put like a Van Duel, then you just have like the little things you put on, like the overalls.
I'm loving it. Christmas parties.
Oh, Christmas party.
Halloween parties, Christmas parties.
Bad Christmas sweatshirts.
All of a sudden, the universe is snowing in a vacuum of space. I love it.
All right.
Frank Fusco or Fusco, sorry to butcher your name.
Sorry about that.
Cryengine support inverse square light falloff?
It does. It does support that. It was a requirement for a physical-based rendering system. When the system first went in, it wasn't completely implemented, so the lighting was a little weird. So that's something that they did implement because it is 100% necessary. And even right now with our current build, the lighting in Cryengine is still not completely been revamped for the physical-based system. So while we do have the inverse square lighting now, which is really nice, we're continually, and Crytek's continually updating that system to improve the lighting for sure. And it's not quite there yet, but it's going to be there very soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next one is from Fill-In Fire Tracker.
I love it.
How do you build a ship in this game? Well,
easy.
That's a whole
not even a problem.
I'm curious with all this detail.
Just task it out, then it gets made.
Yep, it's a breeze. It takes a couple weeks. I'm curious with all the detail. Are the ships a one-shot thing on the production end, or when taking it to this level of professional work, are they built in parts and stuck together, and then it's the Cryengine that turns them into a singular mesh?
So that's obviously a very complicated question, but we could give a very basic, I think, explanation of how we do it. And we use a 3D program, and first thing to do is we block it out. We get it over design, they approve it. Obviously, this is after it's been concepted. And then we block it out further and make sure that everything is functional and everything's working and it's still meeting all the design specifications that have been made by our designers, by Ben, by Chris Roberts. And then we continue the process, get it flyable, get some thrusters on it, making sure that it actually flies okay. And then and this is just the block body of the ship. And then we have the interior and all that stuff. So then we get to the more fine detail. And at that point, you export out your ship as a whole, but it doesn't include the weapons and the components. And those get dynamically spawned in the engine. So while somebody's building the ship, somebody else is building components, somebody else is building the weapons. And then through XML and scripts, it calls the correct weapon and the correct thing at the right time. Then we have this entire back-end database that knows what the ship is, what needs to go on it. And so it knows how to call the script, and then it knows obviously the users and what the users own and what they have. And then that stuff gets dynamically in. It's like magic. Actually, I don't know how it works.
A lot of time.
I have no idea how it works. I don't really answer the question.
Space magic.
Space magic. It's space magic. Yeah.
And then from like a design perspective, I mean, it's really, really hard because each ship is based upon a concept, and sometimes it's just the hull of the ship, right, that gets approved. So then you got to figure out all the spatial volumes inside, and not all of it always works all the time. What areas of the ship are modular? Like where can we reuse assets and ships, but have it true to form?
And that's something we've really been concentrating on, is making sure that we have our manufacturers, and we kind of starting to do a great job of getting styles for manufacturers.
Right.
And then reusing stuff. If you have a weapon rack that's made by Aegis, for example, why can't it be used in
it
this
should be.
age's ship and this age's ship, right? So the idea is we're really starting to finally nail down the direction of the art and really starting to get this modular system rolling. So obviously ships take a long time the first time you do it. The second time you do it, they get faster and they get faster and the faster.
Yeah.
And the more kits that we kind of make out of these ships and the more pieces that we can piece together and the more modular framework that we already have built will allow us to build these ships much faster and speed up development time, which obviously is always a great thing for us and for you guys.
Because they really are. I mean, these ships they're a remarkable undertaking. Like if you even knew how long they actually take from the beginning to the end, because we focus on every minute bit and also every animation with everything, like every button you touch, all this kind of stuff, getting into the ship, how the ship flies, the HUD. We have this, designers who design specifically everything. Zane upstairs is doing just what you see when you're flying it, to the point of everything else. There's so much that goes into it, and how long the concept, getting the concept approved by everybody, being like, this is what we want, moving that forward to this area.
I don't know how we ever get a ship done.
Dude.
But we got like 21 of them.
Yeah, and then some are being redone, which is a good thing. Because like I said, the ships we built early on, as we've grown, we've been like, oh, okay, here's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
So when we realize that we can give a better product, that's when we go back, revisit.
A better product, and we want to make sure that everything's compatible. So, while we were kind of working hard at first, eventually you got to start working smart, and that's when we started figuring out that there is a lot more modular ways to do it. And also we figured out how to utilize the engine better so we can optimize the ships better. So when a ship loads up, it doesn't take 6 seconds, it takes a couple milliseconds, right? So we want to make sure that every ship that's going into the game has the same level of efficiency and the same level of quality, right? So I think there's a couple ships, the Gladius, the Retaliator, the Merlin, have hit those bars now, and that is our bar. And so, and the techniques and the ways that we're doing it. So now we're kind of been going back and kind of trying to make sure that all the other ships are up to par with those, and that way if we do have things modular, we can be swapping out between everything, right?
Totally.
Because we really want this flexible universe.
Yeah, and I like what you said, like work smarter, not harder.
Right. But some people know what it's like to build a ship. When we did, for those that remember the Next Great Starship, we had tons of teams build ships for us, and it's when I talked to them when they came and they're on the show, they were like, it ain't easy.
No?
Like, no, it's not.
And then they come and build a ship here. Like, it's still equally as difficult, even with the support of a team.
Yep.
All
right.
Cool. Should I move on?
Yeah, let's do. Got like 2 left or something.
Yeah.
This is going to be the top 12 for the artists.
This is
because you guys have been so great. You've been so quiet that we're blowing right through this thing.
Oh, this is going to be a short. Should we? I can ad lib, do a little song and dance. Okay, I won't.
Wait, I thought.
All right, next question. L Dragon. The dragon.
Ad lib the question.
Will it be possible that we get some kind of high specular faux chrome paint job? Obviously, it won't actually be reflective. I'm hoping we can get something similar to the look of a polished aluminum fighter craft.
So that is kind of reflective, but what's interesting about that reflective surface is it's all distorted, it's wobbly, it's like looking in one of those magic mirrors or one of those fun shop mirrors, where you look all weird in it and stuff. Like, it's a very interesting. Chris Wolak actually did a version of the Cutlass for a screenshot that had that material, and it looked awesome.
Right.
And it kind of has like you can see the drilled in bolts, into that kind of material, because it's kind of this like rough varnish that never really was painted or anything. It was just
a lot
kind
of
clear coated.
The specular really determines the shape of the object. Like, that's why cars are essentially just mirrors, and that's what the curves of the cars are, how the cars show and warp reflection, and that's what actually makes them beautiful.
But polished aluminum is kind of dented. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like a fiberglass, so you get some real interesting reflections in there.
But chrome is a good question though, because chrome it's the most reflective, right?
Right. It is the most reflective.
It is the most reflective thing. So. With that, though, we get into that becomes a thing about art, tech, and how much it hurts, and then how much it adds. Because like we were talking about, we were having difficulty recently with seeing some things with very, very high reflectance. They're harder to minimize the amount of aliasing. Right. So you get a lot of alien issues with super reflective materials.
You said alien issues.
Aliasing issues.
But it's appropriate.
Aliens, it's all the same. It's Star Citizen.
We have tons of alien issues as well.
But yeah, like that kind of tech, like when we were doing that, it's is it for like a little small piece on a guy, right? So you'll see him from far away and it'll start sizzling. Or what if we make it more like a painted, more like a military metal? And it's not going to alias, and is that really
painted metal?
Is that piece of chrome really adding to it? Probably not. But with a ship,
the shinier it gets, the worse it looks in the engine. Sometimes without the proper with the aliasing that we have in real time is quite difficult. I have a trivia question. We know what the most reflective material is. What is the least reflective type of surface or object in real life?
Are you asking?
I'm asking you.
Me this question?
Do you guys know the answer?
The least reflective material? I'd assume the black hole would be the least.
Black hole
would be the least reflective.
It's a thing. You can hold it in your hand.
You can hold it in your hand.
If you're bad, you get it.
Coal.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
True, yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Great.
No, I think it is. It is in the game.
Coal is the least reflective?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
If you're wrong, they're just going to make fun of you.
No,
they're going to be, it's actually this like super high-tech polyurethane that actually doesn't reflect any light at all.
No.
It absorbs all light.
In our documentation, it says it is.
Okay.
That I wrote.
Great. Hope it's right. But a fully chrome ship? I don't know. I mean...
A fully chrome ship, like Ryan's Church's ship in Cosmos?
Yeah. I don't... As a designer, I wouldn't think that was cool, but...
Did you just say Ryan's Church's ship is not cool? It's
no, I'm not
awesome.
saying his ship isn't cool. I'm not commenting on his ship, but when I say that chrome... Don't blame me. I mean, when I'm playing like GTA or something, and they have that chrome option...
You have an email in your inbox right now.
Oh, jeez, I'm fired.
Is this live?
Yeah, but, I mean, we could... It'd be a sizzly ship.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either. Just for art. But I guess, I mean, you could. Just wouldn't be the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll try it.
There'll be chrome bits. Okay, last question is Mr. Oprah? Oprax?
Oh, it's definitely not Oprah. Oh, okay.
I was thinking of all like
Oprah.
French, like
yeah. Oprah.
Oprah. Yeah. And he's gonna be like, it's Operex.
You're covering your face.
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks.
That's all right. We got a camera over there.
It says, hello. I want to ask if asteroids and objects in space will move and rotate. Now, the game looks frozen.
Yeah, so the reason that they don't currently do that is because it's very heavy on the physics networking code. So there needs to be a lot of optimizations before we can do that. We did have it locally, and we had them all move and rotate and all that stuff, and we were flying around, and it's awesome. And we are going to do it, but there's a lot of code support that needs to go into that because that's a lot of objects transforming.
Moving animations.
It's like matrices or something. Last question. With the huge range of scale of Star Citizen, how do you keep your textures from being recognizable patterns at a distance? This has been a hot topic lately. While we have ways to make things not as recognizable at distances, we do a lot of blending between multiple textures, so at a distance you can't really tell. It's like similar approaches to what games have been using for terrain for years. But kind of the big challenges that we have now is working on the capital ships. The further you get away from those things, it gets challenging to keep the scale looking correct and to keep the detail looking, like it's there, right?
A lot of it isn't even like, it's just design, right? So we know at this distance it starts to look like it's a repeating tile, right? And then, so when you start reaching that range, you probably want to break up the ship in some sort of design where it changes material or does something or something distracts it. It's just being clever because you know your limitations. It's eventually going to look like it's tiling. There's just no way around it if you're tiling an entire ship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about being clever. And you have your you LOD too, so you have like geometry up close, and you get further away, then LOD starts kind of geometry.
What does
kind of
LOD
starts
stand for?
Popping out. Level of detail.
Okay.
You thought I was gonna say distance.
No, I thought it was level of display.
Did you really think it was level display?
No one ever told me. Everyone just calls them LODs.
Really? Because like I'm sitting over here and he said LOD and I was like, I wonder what that is, and I go, level of detail. It just made sense to me.
Well, it didn't make sense to me. I don't do LODs. That's not my job. My job isn't to know that information. Well, it kind of is now, but we'll see. Deal with that later.
You know what your next task is?
Concepting.
LODs at a recognizable pattern in a distance.
Thank you guys all for watching, and a special thanks to the subscribers for making this episode possible, and thanks to all the backers for making Star Citizen possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
And Forrest, you do know that coal is not the least reflective material. I just remembered, not via Google, that silica nanorods.
There's no way you knew that.
I did.
There's no way.
I'm 100%.
And I said natural material. Could you cut that in there, whoever? Natural.
Did you say natural material? If you
Cut it in
didn't
there
say
if I
natural
did.
material, it's gonna look
Oh
real
yeah, we're
bad.
recording.
Yeah.
What was it again?
Silica
I don't care.
nanorods.
Thanks everybody.
Woo!
Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.